Hey guys, today we're doing another casual geographic. Let's go. Oh, I just realized it's a fucking spider. Oh god. Oh. God. Why do we have to start off with a massive fucking spider? Why? 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 Bro, did you really have to do that? Did you really have to start off with a massive freaking spider? Bro.
Kind of sucks. Don't get me wrong, the gift of life is a beautiful thing and all that, but then again, none of us really asked to be here, and then one day you gain consciousness, minor character development followed, and before you could blink twice, you got student loans, a job, and taxes. All that aside, though.
First spin. I was all ready to be like, no, life is a good thing, and then it kind of summed it up in like 2 seconds.
We actually have it pretty good. I mean,
we do.
Ants, because in the game of life, ants have some of the most creatively cruel game overs of any animal.
Okay, I know nothing about ants. I fucking hate insects, so this video is gonna fucking creep me out. I can already tell I'm not gonna enjoy this. I know nothing about ants. I don't care about ants. I don't care for them. They're insects. They're icky. They're gross. They deserve nothing but fire.
To be fair, ants do have a lot going for them. They take the whole strength and numbers thing and put it on steroids, resulting in a eusocial insect able to weaponize its community to take down threats 10 times its size, like an angry twig.
There's no way ants can take on a fucking scorpion, right?
The all-for-one mentality is how ants have managed to stay in the game for well over 100 million years, with today over 12,000 flavors of them seasoning every part of the earth that isn't Antarctica. The problem with being so ancient is that your neighbors have had that much time to evolve around your existence, which often involves using the ants' own habits and traits against them, and trust me, you're gonna see just how ridiculous some animals got with it. Plenty of animals' grocery lists have ants on it. It'd be virtually impossible to list all of them, but here are some of the most memorable.
Bruh, I have a bad feeling. What I don't want to happen in this video, I don't want to come out of this video feeling sympathetic towards the ants. I really don't. I really don't. You know, like the sharks? And what was the other one? There's another one that we watched recently. One of the recent videos. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I remember the sharks, like, going into it being, I hate sharks, and then coming out of it. Sharks are pretty cool. Sharks are actually okay.
For us and traumatizing for the ants. For example, this is an ant graveyard, and most ants don't find out till it's too late. That's because the ant line is the equivalent of a Call of Duty camper that digs a funnel.
Wait, Ant-Lion, Half-Life 2 reference confirmed. Half-Life 3?
In the sand and then hides in the center of it, completely invisible to the rest of the world. All it takes is one ant to step into the death trap to get sent sliding into the center. And with the shifting sands and the ant line tracking the ant through vibrations and actively flicking.
Wait, is this how they got the idea for the Sarlacc pit in the original trilogy? Is this literally the idea for it? Because if that's the idea, that's incredible.
The harder the ant tries to struggle, the further it slides into the pit, directly into the snare trap jaws. And considering some ant lions can spend years in a stakeout, once they do grab the ant, they waste little time injecting it with venom to paralyze it, along with enzymes to digest it from the literal inside out. Which is why.
Bro, why are they so messed up? Why isn't it just so fucked
up? Gets its
up?
actual life essence sucked from it by the antlion drinking its liquefied
Oh my god.
And once the ant serves no further purpose, the antlion yeets the violated corpse out the trap like an epic Capri Sun and then goes back into its homicide hovel to wait to find the next ant's mistake.
It actually drinks them like a Capri Sun. Holy shit, bro.
And if that process sounds familiar, it's cause this is bar for bar with the Sarlacc pit from Star Wars.
I fucking called it! I fucking called it! Oh my god, I'm so clever. I fucking called that. Obviously, guys, I've pre-watched this clearly. No, joking, but like, I fucking called it.
The worst part is, even if the ant manages to struggle up one side of the pit, real-life Jabba will throw up sand from the center, causing the sand around it to collapse, along with the meal-prepped ant with it. A camping tremor isn't the ant's only paralysis demon. A Canthaspis patax is an assassin bug that also.
What? What? Excuse you?
Anything ant for a living. Like the ant line, that involves administering tissue-melting toxins and then slurping.
Okay, I already see a pattern forming. Guys, are we gonna be doing this all? I was gonna say all stream, all video. Is this gonna be the whole video just over fucking messed up bugs injecting neurotoxins and enzymes to dissolve them from the inside out? Is this really where we're going with this?
The life out of it. But they don't just toss out the used and abused ant carcass when they're done. The nymph gathers the soul evacuated bodies of its victims and then wears it like a jacket. This corpse coat helps the assassin bug carry on its ant onslaught while camouflaging it so it too doesn't get put on a t-shirt. This is the first example of what I said about animals using the ant's habits against them. The spiders that the nymph normally would have to—
I am sorry, what? That's messed up. That's like Dark Souls level shit. That's literally Dark Souls level shit right there. Holy shit. It wears the corpses of its victims like fucking armor. I hate this video.
Also don't want smoke with an angry ant mafia. So scientists believe that cosplaying as an ant army keeps the underage assassin bug alive long enough to reach its adult form when they don't need a carcass scarf to survive. But it also means that an ant's entire existence can really come down to being a part of some assassin's ensemble. I only listed 2. It gets so much worse. Phorid flies are one of the biggest obstacles to an ant's pursuit of happiness, to the point where the United States tried to weaponize the flies against them. The nightmare starts when a phorid fly, which can be easily mistaken for a fruit fly, penetrates the thorax of the ant and leaves behind an egg, and then just takes off like only a destructive deadbeat can. This doesn't kill the ant, but the events that follow make it wish it did. Because once the egg hatches—
my god. I know where this is going. I know where this is going, and I don't like it.
An ant's head where it begins eating it from the inside. The victimized ant is alive for all this, but seemingly goes into a catatonic state. After a couple weeks, we're basically talking about a zombie ant getting its vessel carjacked by the fly larva. That's not hyperbole. The larva devours the ant's brain in its last chance of free will and then forces its self-imprisoned ant to just wander around aimlessly. Eventually, the larva manages to guide the ant to its ideal nursery grounds, that being some leaf litter or a crack in the soil. And in its final act, and after weeks of pretty much being locked in the sunken place, the ant's head literally divorces the rest of its body as the felony fly larva spits out enzymes that destroy the very membranes keeping the head and body together. It spends a little more time using the disembodied head as a crib before it pupates and crawls out the long past tense ant's mouth. It's a fate that would violate the Geneva Convention, but since—
This is what I mean. This and my other stuff that I've said before. This is what I think about when people go, nature's beautiful. The nature is beautiful, everything in it is perfect and oh so pretty and sparkly and rosy. And then I go, but what about shit like this? This is literally nightmare fuel. This is horrific. Nature is not pretty. Nature is not beautiful in any way, shape, or fucking form.
Insects have very little rights. The United States have been trying to use phorid flies in the fight against fire ants. Fire ants that were accidentally immigrated to the American Southwest in the 1930s from Brazil and have proceeded to spread worse than a TikTok trend. So
wait, are they another fucking invasive species? I'm gonna guess like the fucking frog. The frog from the more passive.
Scientists have imported phorid flies as the most brutal form of population control for the fire ants that really didn't have to be here in the first place. And apparently, the flies only subtract a small portion of the fire ants, but the threat of them drastically disrupts the colony's activities and forces them to retreat underground. To be fair, you'd be a whole lot less productive if you witnessed your neighbor's head fall off and a whole alien crawl out. On one hand, weaponizing flies is probably less destructive than mass-breathing pesticides like DDT. But on the other, playing God with a mind-controlling, brain-eating parasite can't possibly— But either way, it's another example of an animal that's tailored its entire existence around griefing ants. And it's not the only fly that's learned how to hoe ants for a living. Ants do this thing where they— actually, hold on a second. Okay, we're good. Ants often do this thing where they'll feed another ant by regurgitating into the mouth of the receiver. Oh yeah, it's nasty, but not only are they sharing food, but ants like carpenter ants transfer proteins to help boost disease resistance and overall colony immunity. Enter the flies. One species of South African fly figured out the signal one ant will use on its donor to initiate the food transfer. So the flies come in and use—
Fucking clever. Holy fucking shit, that's so clever. Literally just stealing their food, like, and fucking giving them their food.
To force it to give up its food. And as smart as they allegedly are, the ants aren't smart enough to realize they're getting fleeced out of food by a fly. Which is—
How do you not tell that's not a fucking ant? How do you not tell that's not a fucking ant,
probably how they got the nickname the ant-mugging fly. Like I said, hundreds of millions of years is a lot of time for your ops to study your playbook and use it against you. Because when ants aren't getting trapdoored by ant lions, finessed by flies, or turned into a light flex by an assassin—
I'm sorry, but that is just so horrific on so many fucking levels. Wait, tell me this right here isn't the most horrifying you've seen today. Horrifying thing you've seen today, sorry. Like, just fucking hell.
Ants are often the victim of some of the most complex manipulation in the entire animal kingdom. One example is how
Surely
this entire
not.
butterfly's existence depends solely on deceiving ants. The Alcon blue butterfly has
It's like every other bug just out there to mark ants, just to fucking dab and dance on ants, excuse
no
me?
weapons, no venom, no armor at all. But what they do have are pheromones that are almost identical to that produced by ant larvae. So when the caterpillar airdrops itself down to the forest floor, it's almost immediately taken in by a colony of ants. By mimicking the ant equivalent of a new baby smell, the caterpillar manages to get VIP treatment from the same ants that could turn it into coffin stuffing. The ants
Once again, that's so fucking
carry
clever.
it into their nest where they feed the caterpillar like one of their own. To the point where if there's ever a food shortage, the intruder manages to savvy its way into getting priority over their actual young, especially since the caterpillar is able to mimic the sound the ant queen makes in order to get more attention. And I get that it took millions of years of trial and error to get it right. That is some wild commitment. The Alcon main.
Yeah, that is insane. That's actually it's so. I mean, for all these other fucking freakazoids, it's very, very fortunate that ants are incredibly bad at being able to tell what the fuck is an ant. Like, holy shit. Like, I'm sure if we have like some kind of like pheromone or like device or like sound, we could probably trick him. Like, it seems just that easy, like piss
Tames
easy.
the frog for 2 years until one day it pupates and flies out the ant nursery with the ants unaware of just how hard they got played. This game plan works out so well for the butterfly that even one of the slowest animals on Earth takes a cue from them and pulls a fast one on ants. Ants love eating snail slime. I want you to remember that piece of information. It's going to be real important later. But one species of snail will purposely secrete slime in order to attract the ants who kidnap it and carry it into their nest. Since most ants will 100% eat a snail alive, at first this looks like self-subtraction with extra steps. But once carried into the ant fortress, the snail suddenly stops releasing the slime that got it there in the first place. And somehow not being seen as food gives the snail diplomatic immunity, and they're able to move around the nest untouched and even feed on the groceries the ants bring in while contributing a total of nothing. But at least with the Alcon blue and the snail, technically no one really gets hurt. But one animal manages to not only completely manipulate its ant mark, it does it.
I'm really sorry, but like, ants are just stupid as fuck. They're so fucking dumb. They're just literally they're getting sponged off by every other fucking insect out there.
One of the most ridiculously complicated ways possible. Go get a snack if you don't have one. This finna be a novel. The jihad starts with a parasitic flatworm that enslaves the ant through mind control. You see the pattern here, right? Completely against its will, the ant is forced by the flatworm shacking up.
Wait, isn't this cordyceps thingy, right? Isn't that the cordyceps where the ant like turns into a zombie, climbs up high, and then spores get released from its fucking brain case?
To climb up a flower or stem and clamp its jaws around the tip of the stem, where it can wait for up to 2 months. Wait for what exactly? Basically for an animal that eats grass to come in and take the zombie ant with it. End of the road for the ant. The parasite manages to make its way into the liver of its new host, which is probably why the flatworm is called the liver fluke. And if you think getting lodged inside a cow's liver is a dead end, then you must not have believed me when I told you how needlessly complicated this stuff gets.
Oh shit.
While feeding on whatever.
I have a feeling this is about to get way fucking worse. Like seriously fucking worse.
Cow, sheep, or rabbit unintentionally murk the ant, the fluke lays eggs that then get deuced out by the same host. Those eggs don't get to hatch until a snail comes along and eats the droppings along with the eggs in them. And it's wild.
Okay, no. I thought this was gonna go like this was like the progression of how ants fuck with humans in like some weird way. That parasite is freaking takes over ants. The ant gets eaten by cows. Cows digest it, and the thing makes more things that fuck with the cow, and then we eat the cow, and then it fucks with us that way. But that's what I was going with this. Okay, we're good. We're good for once, we're okay.
By host number 3 that the eggs hatch and proceed to irritate the snail to the point where they get ejected along with a good amount of snail slime. You remember what I said about snail slime and who likes to eat it? And it's once an ant feeds on the contaminated parasite-loaded goop that this vicious cycle restarts itself. Pretty much the liver fluke's life cycle looks more like a Family Guy cutaway. But instead of Meg, the biggest casualty in all of this is an ant that thought it scored an easy meal, but instead gets turned into an easy lick. And I know what you're thinking, and yes, there's a fungus that does the exact same thing.
Yeah, that's what I was referring to. The fucking Last of Us thingy.
Ants live through The Last of Us firsthand when a cordyceps fungus infects an ant, robs it of its life choices, and then forces its new vessel to climb up high enough until it makes it clamp its vice grip jaws around a stem.
The fact that a fungus like controls the ant or like forces it against its own will to do this is terrifying. Like, I always just think about, well, not always, but whenever this is brought up, it's always like the fear of like, what if this spreads? What if this becomes a thing for humans? What happens then? Well, I mean, I guess we know what happens then. We have the fucking game. But bruh, it's horrifying to think
And then
about.
it just stands there waiting for the sweet release of permasleep. And once the ant becomes a was, its withered body becomes ground zero as the fungus proceeds to explode out of it, with the fruiting body growing out of the decommissioned ant's head.
Oh, it's so
and from
grim.
there, it spits out spores in order to continue the cycle of completely desecrating the
It's
ant's
so fucking
So as you can see,
grim.
there are many obstacles to an ant's very existence. Taxes don't seem too bad now, huh? But by far, the biggest threat to ant survival
Taxes are still fucking bad. Let's be real. Let's fucking be real. Let's be real. No one likes paying taxes. Fucking A.
are other ants. Ants regularly commit acts of war against other colonies, and the outcome is just as horrific as you think. Apart from the mass slaughterings, ants regularly participate in slavery. When ants like the red formica raid enemy nests, it's not enough for them to red rum any adults that try to slow them down. They'll make off with as much of the victim colony's larvae as possible. In a season, they can abduct thousands. Back at the kidnapper's home base, the stolen children are born with no way of knowing how they got there and are conditioned to serve the colony that massacred their family. The kidnapped are made to do tasks such as maintain the nest, go out and search for food, and even look after the next generation of baby snatchers.
That's so fucked up. That's so messed up. What is wrong with these things?
They'll even do that weird food transfer vomiting thing I told you about to feed their own captors. But don't think for a second that the kidnappers get off scot-free. Eventually, the enslaved turn on their kidnappers by hitting them where it hurts the most. A good number of the slave maker ant pupae get murked by the same slave workers that were supposed to be looking after them. This get back can bleed more than half the colony's children before they finish the pupal stage and become adults. And in some cases, up to 2/3 of the slavers' offspring get relieved from life. I've made this joke before, but that's Django Unchained levels of get back, which is why another
This like, yeah, okay, alright, no, I mean, honestly, that's fucking fair, that's deserved.
The ant figured out a safer way of griefing their ops. The Solenopsis degrarium of South America is another parasite whose queen will infiltrate the nest of, for example, red fire ants. And instead of immediately turning the queen into a hashtag, the parasite instead steals the food intended for her, which pretty much kills the actual queen slowly. And while that's happening, the parasite queen starts spawning eggs, which the workers unknowingly take care of. And once her children are developed and ready, they fly off like a virus to infect even more colonies. The Solenopsis is such a menace that, just like with Phorid flies, this parasite has been used to nerf the red fire ants that have become invasive in some places. And at this point, it's pretty clear that the ant's entire purpose is to serve the colony and by extension the queen. This means
okay, in the comments, can someone tell me why red fire ants are so bad? Like I said, I know nothing about ants, and I don't think we have them here. We don't hear anything about them in the UK. So, like, why are they such a menace? And, like, other than maybe being an invasive species?
Some ants have essentially sold their souls for the ant kingdom's best interests. Soldier ants are so geared for war and nothing else that they physically can't feed themselves, and without worker ants to mama bird them, they'd starve. The cephalotes spent evolution points on a head wide enough to block entrances to their nest from intruders.
There's no shot they're living doorways. There's no shot they're living fucking doors. Are you shitting me?
Until you realize their entire life's purpose comes down to just being a living door.
They're the doors from fucking Fable. They're literally the doors from Fable.
All this to protect the queen who would 100% throw her colony under the bus if it benefits her. That's not speaking hypothetically either. Queen ants have been known to backdoor their own colony. Many ant colonies have more than one queen, which on paper should be a good thing since more queens means more workers, means better chance for the colony to prosper. The problem is the small but very real chance that the workers turn on the extra queens and take them out of power. Permanently. Queen ants seem to know this, so sometimes they'll try to be slick and purposely produce less eggs so that they can save their energy fighting off any disobedient subordinates if it ever gets to that point.
What the fuck is wrong with ants? What the fuck is wrong with ants? They're such fucking... They're dumb as shit, and they're fucking awful creatures. What the fuck?
The caveat is producing less eggs and therefore less workers actually hurts the colony overall, even if it helps the
less food.
The problem is the workers know it, and they can sense how fertile a queen is based on chemicals. So if the worker ants suspect that one of the queens is holding out on them, it's curtains for her. Ant politics means if the ant queen gets too selfish, she gets executed. But become too much of a team player with other queens in power, and the queen ant becomes completely defenseless in the case of a mutiny, since the process of making so many eggs means she doesn't have any energy left to defend herself. But no ant pays a higher price for being a team player than a species found in Southeast Asia. These ants don't have huge mandibles or stingers, but when their colony is under attack, then you see exactly why they were named Colobopsis explodens. They have huge glands under their abdomen.
No, you know what? I don't know why. I don't know why, but I feel like I might have an inkling as to why, what these ants do. And if I'm right, This is probably the most stupid fucking defense mechanism possible.
And as a last resort, they'll force the glands to burst and cause themselves to explode. This act of
yeah, okay, that's the most ridiculous, fucking stupid self-defense I've ever heard.
Attraction coats the enemy in this toxic, sticky, glue-like gunk that traps the attackers while also poisoning them. The ants kamikaze themselves, but they do it for the good of the colony. And this isn't even the only way ants will voluntarily cross themselves off the census. There's a species of Brazilian ant that'll seal the entrance to their nest every night to keep possible threats out. The problem is, they use actual living ants to close the entrance from the outside. And with no way to get back in, a few brave worker ants spend the night outside the safety of the nest, and become past tense by the time the nest is opened again in the morning. But at least when these ants sign their own obituary, it's by choice and for a purpose.
That seems so dumb. That, again, seems so fucking stupid. I know ants are like in the millions. I'm sure like homies probably have what, like a couple thousand, maybe a couple, like, I'm sure I'm way off, but even a couple thousand, like, losing like a small portion of that every night seems really counterintuitive.
No choice or purpose to what's happening here. Two things to know about army ants. Number one, they're nomads. They don't make a permanent settled down nest and are constantly on the move. Number two is that army ants are essentially blind. They rely on pheromones to get around. An ant mill like this happens when a small party of ants gets separated from the rest of the foraging group, and while lost, they begin to start following each other. And with no way of knowing they're going in an endless circle, you see exactly why this has been called the death spiral. They just keep going until they eventually pass tense to pure exhaustion, and not all ant mills are this small. One of the first death spirals ever seen was about 1,200 feet across. For the non-Americans, that's about 365 meters, and for the Americans...
Okay. Bro.
No concept of distance like me, that's more than 3 football fields, and apparently it took each ant 2.5 hours just to complete one lap. And out of all...
Imagine seeing that. Imagine that many ants in this fucking death spiral thing. I'd be shitting myself. I'd be like, is the world ending? Are they sensing something we don't know about?
Disturbing ways ants get logged out of life. This might be the worst one. Mindlessly marching in a circle.
No. At least this one, they're going in their own. Well, they're working themselves to death, literally, but still. At least this one, it's not fucking being like eaten from the inside, taken over by fungus, or fucking used as fucking honor.
Following the guy in front of you until your number eventually gets called. Yeah, it's the worst one because for some people, it's the most relatable. And on that note, that's gonna do it for this video. Make sure you go outside and do something you wouldn't normally do. Break out of the rut any chance you can. Because the thing about a death spiral is, you may not realize you're in it until it's too late. See ya.
You have no idea how fucking relatable that is for me right now. Holy fucking shit. I'm literally doing things at the minute with regards to work to get out of this like massive creative burnout I've been having for the last 3 weeks, and actually allowing myself some time to just relax, which I haven't done in like, I think at this point 6 years. I've been doing other creative things for 6 years straight with no breaks. So, bro, this I kind of needed to see this, at least this part of it.
On the next one.
Bye, bro. Also, is this music from Rayman 2? I think, right? Question mark? Anyway, bro, I still don't like ants. I still fucking don't like them. They're fucking awful creatures. But yeah, at least that was interesting. I'll see you in the next time, guys. Bye.